Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Operate out of your dreams and your vision and not other people's expectation. Having breast cancer wasn't my choice, but the decision to live healthy so that I could stand before you here today, that's choice. You can choose this very moment to change your life from every perspective.
Tracy Randolph was our speaker. She came back because so many people liked her first presentation. I was one of those people that joined her fitness group, and it made me a better leader.
I grew up in a community, but they had limiting beliefs on what a little black girl could do. Everything that you do in this life is a choice. I choose to live healthy. I choose to change my mindset. I choose to be everything that I dreamed of because I choose faith and I choose me. Live healthy, be everything that you can be today. Choose yourself.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of FEM Talk. It is that time, FEM Talk Tuesday. Yes, it is. You just saw that. You didn't see that, right? You didn't see that. All right, everybody. Without further delay, I'm going to bring in the beautiful ladies of FEM Talk. We have Brandy, the Disconnector. Hey, hello, and we have Melissa, girl bossed up, Dr. Melissa. We're gonna put that on your name. We gotta put that. Hello. And our beautiful Shima is out today, so we are sending her love until she joins us again next week. And as always, everybody, we have an amazing guest waiting backstage. However, you know what we do before we bring in our guests? We have to talk about our hot topic. Well, our beautiful Brandy there has queued this up for us. You guys didn't see it earlier, right? You didn't see it.
So Brandy, quick glimpse.
Yes, take it away, Brandy. Take it away.
Well, actually, our very own Dr. Melissa is responsible for bringing this to our attention. I had heard about it on an entirely different platform, but she saw it from a different perspective. So what we're going to do is share some recent information that was provided by Grant Cardone. If you're unfamiliar with who Grant Cardone is, he is a well-known real estate investor who is also like a very big self-development type individual as well. He's known for the whole 10X thing, throwing huge events with the likes of Pitbull and Sean, the founder of Sean John. What's his name? Damon John. So he rubs
not
elbows.
Sean John. Sean John was actually P. Diddy.
What is his? His is
Fubu.
His was Fubu. Oh,
yeah, Damon
my
John
bad.
was Fubu.
Son John. He found Fubu for us by us. So yeah, so he rubs elbows with some very high financially powered individuals, and he has made a few blood vessels pop in people's heads with what he has recently said. So let's jump into that.
He actually just recently had a conference, and he had TD Jakes on that conference with him. So, but anyway, okay, go ahead. Cue it up.
All right. So if you guys want to check this out, we'll drop the link to it in the comments so you can view it yourself and verify.
Street terms, if you will, very not big nomenclature, vocabularies. You know, we just keep everything very tight and simple. Us, about half my audience is Black under the age of 40. It's because we go after that audience and we're talking to them in very street terms, if you will, very not big nomenclature, vocabularies. You know, we just keep everything very tight and simple.
All right, so y'all caught that, right?
Caught it. I thought my mouth was gonna open up, you know, and fall out. I couldn't believe that this person's on, you know. Let's say this. I know people are ignorant, and I know people say a lot of things, you know, but I think at this day and time, you would think certain things would not be said on CNBC as somebody's being interviewed on an international, you know, top 10 platform and say such ignorant stuff about 50% of the business he does. He's a real estate tycoon. He does a lot of business in the urban areas. And to have the audacity to say that he admitted he gets half his income from the Black community, and he had no problems in saying that because he deals with the Black community, he dumbed downs everything he says and how he says it to them so that he can get their business. And he uses their slang, you know, he uses, you know, all of that stuff. And I was just like, blown away that this man is on this national television show saying this, you know, and thank you, Brandy, because Brandy is always well informed and knows her stuff. So Brandy schooled me a little bit. I appreciate that she said I'm not upset because this is what she expects. I guess I'm still of the unfortunate people that still get surprised when I hear these kind of things. But I did research that article of the other person that they talked about, and they call it, one of the terms they use is culture vulture, meaning they take and they take our culture and they snatch it from us because they want it. They want everything we have without us. You hear what I'm saying? They want everything we have, but without us. They don't want us involved. They don't want us getting the money. They don't want us getting the income. They don't want us creating generational wealth. They don't want us having the land we're supposed to have. They don't want us having the money. But they want everything that we have in order to get it. Well, I'm sorry.
I want to challenge something though too, because of this person, right? Is that really our culture though? You know what I mean? It's a culture that is depicted for. It's a culture that was given to us by the very thing that he's on right now, the media, right? So I don't necessarily think that that's our culture. It's and I'm not saying it's a part of our population, right? I'm not saying that it's not there, it doesn't exist. But at the same time, we can't just say that that's our culture, because the three of us are sitting here and that's not our culture.
Well, right. I'm leaning more towards the divine on this, because at the end of the day, you can't take what's ours, no matter how hard you try. What is ours is ours. It's divinely set aside specifically for us and the version of us that's ready to receive the things that will bring abundance and prosperity. I no longer have time to be upset at people like Grant Cardone for simply tapping into a resource that's clearly there. He's not the first one that's done it. I've known of a high-level individual that was actually the head of a company, very well known for having said Christians are some of the dumbest people you can lock in this industry. And we all know the percentage of Black people in this country that identify as Christian.
That's right.
So again, it's unfortunate depending on how you're looking at it, but I don't have time to be upset about stuff like that anymore. My eyes are my eyes and spirit are just set on higher things. Is he a kind of a jackass from going there? Yeah, probably, but I'd rather him be upfront about the way that he goes about things, so that those of us that know and understand why he does what he's doing, we can make an educated choice. If you know this is how he thinks about you, work with him if you want to, just because the money's good, or have enough self-respect to go elsewhere. There are several people that look like us that know exactly what he knows.
That's right.
The only difference is they can't scale at the speed at which he scales, because of access to certain resources, but those resources are changing with Web3 and cryptocurrency and the changes in technology and this AI stuff. Lord, you'd have to be an idiot not to be financially sound in the next decade.
Got it. And, and I think that's the piece. I love both, the perspective both of you coming from, because we do have to get have to be more aware and and really create our own systems. To your point, Tracy, we are out here doing our own thing, and it is sad that somebody thinks they can do this. I do see it as culture vulture. I like that term, because I see a lot of people taking what we have created. Now, to your point, Brandy, what they're taking is a watered down version of not even what it is, the essence of it. You can't steal magic. That the black magic that comes with it, you can't steal. You can try to replicate it, but you'll never get it. So I agree. It's nothing that he can take anything from us. But for those that have listened and bought into the Kool-Aid, I encourage you to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and find new resources, create your own things. And when you see those kind of people coming, go another way. And to your point, Brandy, let's build our own wealth. Let's continue to support, create our own systems, create our own internet, create our own real estate, do everything, and make sure that we out those kind of people, because they don't deserve none of our stuff.
Yeah. And you know what though? I think too, the sad part of that is I would love to see the bottom line, right? Does this change the numbers, right? Because he was bold enough to put it out there. Exactly. And that is why
there wasn't going to be any type of real consequence.
Right. That is why he was bold enough to put it out there.
Right. He didn't care. He knew it wouldn't change nothing. Right.
Exactly. But that's the problem. The problem is not him saying it, because, listen, he's going to be who he is. So that's not the problem. The problem is that we won't take this and say, you know what? It's time to make the change. And everything that you were saying, Melissa, and that Brandy was saying, it's time to make the change. Well, we won't do that. That's the bigger problem than him actually saying what he said. He, let him be who he is, right? Who he showed himself to be. Yeah.
Right. I don't think he hates us or anything like that. I just think that he doesn't understand that what he said to those of us that are more intelligent and in touch with higher levels of thought. You've alienated yourself from us. That's not to say that some Black folks and a lot of Black people still won't work with him, because at the end of the day, Grant Cardone, if you follow his programs and his teachings, he does and eventually will make you money. But it takes a lot of discipline. That same level of discipline, energy, and focus could be placed with somebody that looks like you, that actually cares about you and not just what you can do for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing we have to really tap into. Kudos for those, like I'll shout her out. She ain't on tonight, but my sister, she was with a big real estate name, and she decided to team up with another African American sister, and now they're doing their thing on real estate, and I love it because they decided to team up, and that's what we do. We take our talent to each other, and the more we start doing that, You know, all you fem talkers out there, the more we start, you know, making sure we all go together, that's how it's going to really change the game. So thank you for that. And yeah, Lamont's called me an optimist. I am. I'm still the optimist. I'm the glass half full girl. So when I hear things, I'm like, what? So yeah, I'm still that girl, but that's all right. That's all right.
That's all right. And don't lose that, right? Don't lose that. You know, just you gotta put it in the right direction. And listen, I know, you know, how you've been helping people in your own industry. Well, that's what you gotta do, right? That's what we need to do.
Right.
So
That's
continue to be that optimist and continue to help the people that you can touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Now for our main topic, yeah.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah. So Melissa, do you want to introduce our beautiful guest that is waiting backstage?
We have, you know, and I and Brandy, thank you for helping me earlier. We have the beautiful Samantha Maldonado with us tonight. She is here. She is a longtime friend of our sister Brandy. They go way back, but she also, with her own strength, has doing her thing out there. And she's here tonight to talk to us about really, where has marriage gone and why are people going towards still partnerships, but not going to the level of marriage anymore? So she's here to shed some light on the situation. But I will say, I'm excited. I'm interested in listening to it because I did a little research and the numbers are really going down in terms of people believing in marriage. In 2006, 49% of the population believed that marriage was the way to go, especially if you had kids. Today, those numbers look like 29% of the population believes that you should be married, even in a situation with children. So clearly a societal shift in the thought about marriage. So we have our special guest here to share and shed some light to us today. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
All right. Give her a virtual round of applause. Let's do it. And we are going to bring in the beautiful Samantha.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Welcome, my old friend.
Thanks. How are you?
Hello. We are so excited to have you here with us, Samantha.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Brandy, thanks for inviting me to share my views, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll talk. Yeah, and let me and Samantha, I don't know if you got to see the show last week, but we was talking about Black love and marriage. And I'm one of those people who, my husband and I, we've been married for we're going to be 33 years in June. So when we but when we talked about that, but then but I must say, and years ago we wrote a book, The 5 Rules of Marriage. But in doing that book, I even then saw the statistics on divorce and we both knew that that the powers were against us to stay together. So tell us a little bit about your perspective on marriage and where do you think the disconnect has happened when it comes to marriage?
Well, I personally have been married and divorced 3 times. So I've experienced a lot of disconnect. Dr. Melissa, I admire the fact that you and your husband have been together for so long, because growing up, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be married, and I wanted to have that long lasting love, and I wanted that monogamy, and I wanted that partner to share my life with. I got married the first time pretty young, and I really thought that was it for me. And it came down to, we just didn't have the same goals in life. And it was something that we never even talked about. The communication just simply wasn't there. I wanted to have a child and he didn't, and unfortunately some statements had come out about having a child, and they were just too much to be able to stay together. And so that's what led to my very first divorce. It was actually very mutual. But the fact that we didn't communicate in the very beginning about what our life goals, that's what led to our disconnect. Yes, being young impacts that, but I also think in this generation and a lot of the younger people, they're growing up in a society where it's easy to hide behind a keyboard. You can say whatever you want, but you're not necessarily saying that to someone's face. And the way that we understand that through text message or email is just so different. you could say something and not really mean what you say just to achieve a feeling of happiness or completeness, when in reality, you're maybe not really getting that on the other end from that person.
That's good. That's good. You know, that whole, I'm so glad you brought that up. The whole concept of how interaction with people have changed. We used to be face to face, and now the screen has created, just like we are, a conversation, but how real is the conversation people are having these days? And I remember once, and to your point, we have fought to stay married. I would be the first one if I could be lying, but that's not my thing. You know, it was not easy to be married 33 years. The first 7 years of our relationship was, okay, why are we not divorced yet? To your point, I think there was still a genuine. Hey, we'll have a show on that story later. But to that point, I think one of the things we realized was that there was enough love, and we did consider the kids. I think we went through too much as young adults ourselves and children, that we so wanted to do it for our children. So I think that at the end of the day, those 7 years, that's what held us together. Once we got through that hump and we started then learning, and to your point, one of the statements we made was, isn't this interesting? And think about this, everybody. One of the biggest things you commit to when you go on a job interview, they say, okay, what's your experience? When you look to get, anytime you go on a job interview, they want to know your experience. If you get promoted, they want to know your experience. If you have to write, if you, all the information you need to get on a plane and all of these things. But one of the biggest commitments we make in our life, which is marriage, you don't have to do anything to get married.
Wait. You didn't need to submit your parents' information to make sure you're not related in some.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But in some societies, they don't even care about that either, Brandon. There's some groups that don't care about that either. They say, oh, well. But it's one of the biggest commitments you make in your life, and there's no requirement, to your point, Samantha, to at least have some communication, have some discussion. So I think problem number one is just what you said. There's no requirement to do anything before you get married. No requirement. I mean, what would talk about a little bit for Samantha? When you got married the second time, did you do anything different to help you to say, okay, I'm not going to do this again? So was there anything in there that helped you?
No, I didn't. I found this gentleman and we liked each other, and I still had aspirations of being a mother, and he wanted to be a father, and it was, hey, let's have a baby. We had a relationship. It was a very short-term relationship before we decided to try for a child, and we did. We tried for a child, and she's now here she is. I knew she would make her appearance at some point. And that was really all that we had. We had one common goal. I was still a hopeless romantic. I still wanted it to work. I still just wanted that love and that affection from somebody. But in that particular situation, there was still a lack of communication on how to love each other. And he ended up seeking that love outside of the relationship and outside of the marriage. Right. And that's kind of what led to my second divorce. Not kind of, it is what led to my second divorce. And Dr. Melissa, to your point about children and staying together or staying in a marriage for children, after going through 3 divorces, I truly don't have that same point of view. Right. The way that I look at it now is I'm the example for my daughter. I'm the role model. If I'm teaching her that a toxic marriage or a toxic relationship is normal, that's what she's going to start getting herself into when she's older. Right. And I don't want that for her. She cannot break that cycle of toxic relationships. I'm the only one that can do that for her. So it's really important to me as a mother, as a wife, or as a girlfriend, that I am constantly portraying the most healthy relationship that I can, because I don't want her to go through the hardships that I went through in marriage. So if it means that I have to leave in order to protect that for her, I absolutely will. She's bounced back pretty well, given the separation from her dad. I mean, she was really little when it happened, but even with my last husband, she bounced back really, really well from it. And we don't give children enough credit for being able to bounce back from those things. I also speak to her at an adult level, and I explain to her
Nice.
at her age, this is what happened and this is why, and this is what you can do if you're in that situation. So just being that role model is extremely important to me. And I want to break those generational curses, if you will, or those ideals that we stay married for specific reasons, because there's no handbook to marriage. There's no manual to follow whatsoever.
I have my bell right now. Bing, ding, 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 ding. Yes. Yes.
We're going off of our parents' relationships, our grandparents' relationships. We're going off of movies, even if you think about Disney. You have this idea ingrained in your brain over year after year after year. You think you know what it is, but at the end of the day, you truly don't. It's a lot of discovery for yourself throughout that process, and you're discovering who you are, and then you discover who that person is, and you discover you're just not right for each other. And yes, there is a point where you fight for it. You fight for it because of that love. Both parties have to want to be able to put in that work.
That's right. You said so many nuggets in what you just said, and let me say this: I totally agree with you. If my husband and I did not figure something out, it was going to be over. I think what kept us together was that even though we were not getting along, there was still when we checked in with each other, we still wanted something. So there was still, to your point, a mutual desire to stay together. Even though we didn't have, like you said, it was no manual. And that's honestly what led us to, and I'm not, trying to promote my book, but that's what what we learned in that next year, because we were horrible for 7. Then this 7th year came, and we literally went and sat under another couple because we said, we got to figure this out. And we found these rules that they kind of taught us. It wasn't in a book, but we kind of deduced that, okay, we could do this, we can figure it out. And that's what started to happen. We created the manual that you talked about. But I think, to your point, if we was that miserable after that time, we would have said enough is enough, because we did try. So I do believe in that also, that, you don't stay miserable for your whole life. That's just ridiculous. And, everybody deserves more. And to your point, our children would have, one of the things I remember when my father left the house, and even though I missed him, I was so happy that the fights were stopped, meaning my parents would not fight anymore because he wasn't there. So that the relief of not being part of the toxic, atmosphere was so much better for me and my sisters when we got older, because we didn't want to be a part of it. So to your point, Samantha, I love that you said children are more resilient than we give them credit for. And there's a teaching moment in that. And I think we learned a lot of what not to do and how to go about our own relationships. So I love everything that you just talked about.
Yeah, you've created your own manual to your happiness and to your happy marriage, and that's something that those values you can pass on to your children. You can pass on the good qualities, because I don't think marriage is bad. I just don't think I'll ever do it again after the time. I'm still, again, like I said before, that hopeless romantic. But also I think that there's a lot in society, women have come a long way as far as, voting and having a voice and having a choice for things. And I think women are also realizing that we can speak up. We can say no to the wrong things without there being a negative repercussion to us. So I think a lot of women are now just expressing that with the protest against marriage. You know,
Yeah.
they want to start standing up for themselves. It's not the church that's telling you if you want to have a family, you have to get married, you have to do right by the church.
Love
And
it.
so with all of that, we're just stronger now than we ever have been. And our voices are so much more important, and we value what our voices are.
I love that. So yeah, so ding 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 ding. I don't have to. But Tracy, he was gonna make a point.
Yeah, I was just, because she keeps talking about the hopeless romantic, right? And I can so identify with you, right? Because when you look at, maybe Hallmark, some Lifetime things, right? That picture of what a relationship is supposed to be on television, right? It looks so good. And, that hopeless romantic. I was gonna say, is there anything wrong with being a hopeless romantic? That Disney-esque thing that you talked about earlier, right? What's wrong with that, if you can identify with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with being a hopeless romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in our nature to want to be, cuddled and share affection and to share moments with a special partner next to you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Yeah.
I just think where the problem would be is when you're desperate for that love and you're taking the next man who's in line because he's who's available. I kind of felt like I did that. I went through one divorce and then I got into a relationship very quickly afterwards without really even knowing the person and knowing who they were, what they stood for, and it not working out. And then literally doing it a third time, the same pattern. I have realized now after 3 that I was projecting the same pattern, the same behaviors. So it really all just started with me in all of those relationships. And so I'm also trying to break that cycle for myself at the same time. So
I love that. And I think, to your point, I remember it was a person who he was on his 4th marriage. And in his 4th marriage, the woman he married literally said, if you think you're going to do what you have been doing with your first 3 wives, you got another guest coming. And she called him on it, meaning, to your point, Samantha, like the behaviors he had, I guess, had started manifesting again in his 4th marriage. And his wife was like, I'm not doing this with you. I don't know I don't know why you think you could do this. And he, for the first time now in the 4th marriage, he acknowledged what he was doing. We always hear that, that I know we all heard this, insanity is doing the same thing the same way again and again and again, where we don't see the patterns, we don't see the issues that we're repeating. We just keep on repeating them. And I think what this guy finally did, and his wife helped him to do, was like, the pattern needs to end. And he finally saw himself for who he was, acknowledged that he was the one creating these divorces because he was behaving a certain way. And he finally changed. And they went on to have a phenomenal marriage in his 4th time. But to your point, I think we don't look at what are we drawing to ourselves that's not healthy, that's not manifesting the goodness that we are looking for in a relationship. What in our insecurities that are pulling in the wrong personalities or whatever we were socialized to believe, and not remedy those kind of things in our own selves. I think, to your point, I think I don't think it's a problem being a hopeless romantic, as long as we understand that we're dealing with ourselves. They talk about baggage. What are we doing about the baggage that's coming into relationships? That, to your point, that it really has nothing to do with marriage. It has to do with dealing with ourselves.
Yeah. And what I realized through therapy is that I was creating a lot of self-sabotage, whether it was through past experiences that I was bringing that forward, or my own insecurities that was creating that self-sabotage. And so now I can recognize, even just in relationships with family members, if I start feeling a certain way, I see a certain behavior coming, and now I can withdraw it back and come at it at a different angle and a different approach. And I didn't know I was self-sabotaging these relationships with specific behaviors. And so now I can recognize it. But, yes, I take accountability for my wrongs. They had their part in it as well. But I think we really need to start healing ourselves before we can truly decide if this is the next step we want to take. I know I have a lot of healing to do before I'm ready to make that next step. I know earlier I said, I'll probably never get married again. I always joke about that. But again, I do think someone's out there for me. And I know that they're there. And I would love to share that connection with them. But I have a lot of self-healing from my 3 divorces that I have to do before I can allow somebody into my heart again. Because it just wouldn't be a healthy relationship at the end of the day.
Yeah. And a lot of practice in though. Good practice.
Yes.
We
have to take a quick commercial break, everybody. And then we will be right back. Do not go anywhere because you want to hear the rest of this conversation. And I'm just going to say to Sam, thank you so much for being so transparent and sharing your truth here. Because it's not easy to do, and dealing with relationships is not easy as well. But everybody stay tuned. We will be right back.
Yes.
Tell people when they're trying to really get focused and productive to ignore the hey bros because they're low priority. Get your motivation, create your checklist, and then that's the formula, man.
Terrible criminal.
I just want to, hey, baby.
I love the camera.
Nothing wrong with that. I just want to make mention of the comments out there because Shaquita's on fire here. She's saying that I think there's a lack of commitment, not to mention people don't heal before getting into another relationship. And that is so true, so true. And she says, which stems from a fear of being alone. We just settle for someone to fill the void. Yeah, that's so good.
That's so good. And you know, and I wanted to ask you, Samantha, and I love, thank you, Chiquita, for all of those comments you're making. But I honestly believe that a lot of it stems from how we were raised, how we were socialized, and then we start repeating some of the behavior. And part of your self-healing, self-realization, can you contribute some of the issues in your relationship to yourself as from growing up, or from things you encountered as a young child or as a young adult prior to the relationships, or is the issues that you dealt with in your relationships from the relationships? What would you what would you say about that?
I do think a lot of my upbringing has to do with the way that I view things and how I see marriages. My mom has never been married. She's going to be 60 years old this year. She's never been married. She never brought a man around my brother and I. It was just the 3 of us all the time. And my grandparents' marriage was unfortunately built on alcoholism, drug addiction. I saw a lot of violence. I saw a lot of that with my aunts and uncles as well. I never really saw what a healthy relationship was. So just that in general didn't contribute anything positive to how I viewed I should be in a relationship or who I should be in a relationship with, or really even understanding my value as a person, that I deserved better than those attributes that they had. But also, I think my family had put a lot of pressure on me growing up. It was always viewed as the perfect child or the perfect grandchild. Samantha's involved in gymnastics and she's doing so well here. She can do no wrong. I was put on a pedestal very unfairly. So I always I wanted to be accepted. And I think that's where my unhealthy habit with relationships stemmed from, and why I've kind of relationship hopped and marriage hopped, is because I just wanted to be accepted by that other person. It was like starving for that acceptance. And being on the pedestal of being perfect and not being able to do anything wrong. I mean, it was just really hard to deal with. I don't know how to explain it, unfortunately. But I just felt like I had to be perfect all the time. And if I wasn't, it just wasn't accepted.
Yeah. I can so relate to you, Samantha, because everything you were saying, I said, oh, that was me. That was me. That was me. Because I think so often, you know, we talk about healing from relationships. There's so much healing that needs to come from our childhoods. So many of us. And I think that's what begins to manifest in a lot of relationships. And to your point, maybe, you know, we see it because marriage is this commitment and is this vows, and then you make this thing. So to separate, you got to create a paper, you know, you got to get divorced, the big D word. Whereas if we look at other relationships, the same thing is happening. But we're not married to them, but we don't talk to our sisters anymore. We don't talk to our aunts anymore, because we're manifesting that same behavior in other relationships. Once was a best friend, but no more best friends. And I've seen it. So I think, you know, even Chiquita was mentioning, there's a healing that really needs to come, I think, from us from the inside out. I know for me, prior to being with Lamont, I was in 2 bad relationships. And to your point, I wanted to please people. So you always get into these things, and it's like, okay, you accept the crap because you wanted to please the people. And then there is this fear. I don't want to be alone. I want to be married. So you accept a lot of nonsense. So I think, you know, until we learn how to really love ourselves and heal ourselves from the inside out, is when we can really then present ourselves not just to a person for a marriage or for a relationship, but all relationships, even with our children, with our, you know, significant others, with our friends. You know, some of us need to learn how to be better friends, because these same behaviors do show up in other relationships. So I appreciate all that you're mentioning, and I can really relate. I can so
and with Chiquita mentioning about the fear of being alone, that's real. And I think it's real for so many people. I didn't want to be alone. I did want, again, share that companionship with somebody. But over the last 2 years of my life, I've learned to go sit at a restaurant alone. I've learned to go to a club or a bar alone. And I'm completely comfortable doing it now. I have no problem being alone. I can do just about anything alone now. Whereas before, I would either, you know, have my partner with me, or I would call a friend, hey, I need you there. Because I felt like I always just needed somebody with me. And learning to actually be alone and be comfortable alone is a very huge step in the healing process to be able to move forward. Because now I know I don't need that other person for the support that I was looking for, because I can be my own support.
I love that. Love yourself. You fell in love with yourself. And so many of us, I think COVID and the pandemic and this notion that now we all had to be alone and be in our own little bubbles brought a lot. That's why, you know, I work in the education field. The cost for mental health has gone skyrocketed. And it's skyrocketed because so many people had to deal, to your point, Samantha, about why am I so upset about being alone? Why can I not handle this? And they had to deal with themselves. And a lot of people, thank God, started really dealing with the mental issues, the you know, the physical hurts, the spiritual hurts, the mental hurts that they had dealt with in their life. They started dealing with it. And a lot of people have started to kind of figure out, okay, I can be alone. This is not a bad thing, because myself, and I is enough. And I think once we get to, like my daughter, she has this wonderful tattoo and it says, I am enough. When we really realize that we are enough for ourselves, I think that's when we can honestly get into another relationship with a person, because now we're not seeking their everything. We're just want to share ourselves with them, as opposed to needing something from them.
Yeah, I felt in relationships, it was really hard for me to be one person here and then be another person for this group of people or this relationship. And then I'm putting on another disguise over here to be this person. And you talked about being a people pleaser. And I know inherently I am a people pleaser. But I finally decided I'm taking that mask off. I'm taking all of it off. It was too exhausting. I couldn't physically do it anymore. And I just wanted to be me. And I just wanted people to accept me for who I was. And now I'm not afraid of me. And I think I was afraid of me for a really long time. And now I'm not. And Brandy and I kind of talked about this earlier. I'm okay if you don't want to be a part of me anymore. I'm totally okay with it because I'm moving on to bigger and better things. If you want to be there for the ride, let's do it together. But that self-love is everything. And through my journey, I have really found my worth. And, people talk about worth and like it's a mythical creature. And, you're always on this hunt, you're on the scavenger hunt and you're looking at a map and it never seems achievable or obtainable, but it really, truly is. And when you get to that point where you have found it and you've found that enlightenment, it's such a refreshing feeling. I just feel so much better and so happy that I'm just not wearing those disguises anymore. It's too hard. It's too much energy. I'm done with it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
That's so good.
Randy, tell us a little bit about, I know Samantha is one of your great friends. How excited are you to hear her transformation, knowing her for such a long time?
Oh, I'm stupid excited because like a lot of people come out of relationships like that battered to the point that they just kind of withdraw within themselves, whereas Samantha went the complete opposite way and looked at herself in order to see what could she do better. She didn't say, well, she doesn't beat herself down about it. If there's any back and forth about it, I'm sure she's well on the way to, if not have already forgiven herself for the mistakes that were made. But the example that she's being for her daughters, what I find most inspiring, because there are a lot of mothers that don't consider the fact that their children are looking at them in abusive relationships, being talked to any kind of way, going out of their way to please somebody who's not destined or even trying to be happy. And so they try to find their self-worth in another person when essentially you need to be interconnected. You need to be interdependent. You don't need to be codependent. And you're showing her that through your own actions. And so I commend you for that, because that to me is one of the highest pinnacles of motherhood that a woman could achieve when it comes to their children.
Wow. Love that.
I do too. Thank you. And it's not an easy thing to realize, though. I will tell you, my epiphany moment was driving down the street. My daughter is in her car seat, and she genuinely asked me, Mommy, are you ever going to be happy again? And it hit me in a very different place. And I think that's when I really realized I was doing things for the wrong reasons. And I didn't realize how much she was paying attention. And I didn't realize the things that she was seeing was also affecting her. And she just cared enough about me to ask a good question. And if it hadn't been for that question, I honestly don't know if I would have had that motivation to see things differently or to try differently.
That's beautiful. I love that that epiphany happened, but even your daughter being able, I don't think we and Chiquita, you just going off. I just love your comments there. And I love that you said especially that she's a girl, because I think as women, we see, even as a young girl, we see another woman, especially our mom's pain. I don't think as parents we notice that, but as little or small, our children see our pain because they're so connected to us. I remember, and I say this like this, I remember when I was sick, I had COVID, and my puppy, Queenie, she felt something in me, and the way she got under me when I was sick, it was like, I said, wow, this is uncanny. But I think children feel that same way. They know when we are not in a good space, and they come and they may give us a kiss or a hug, or they may give us a little gift or something, but they see things. And I think the disservice we do is that, and I like that you said, I treat my daughter, I speak to her as an adult. Meaning, I have an adult conversation. I don't make it sound or not tell her anything. Let's deal with the situation. Because I think as a young person, I know I didn't have enough conversations with my mom about all the stuff she experienced. And I think I would have appreciated that, because knowing how she was feeling when things were happening could have really helped me understand her better and the situation, and could have done a world of difference for me and my relationships. So,
I have a comment there, because I was away this weekend and had a conversation with my coach, but he was talking about this very thing when it comes to your children. And he was like, just think about it this way: you and that little person in your life were once one, so how could they not feel what you feel? Right. So I just love when he put it that way. I'm like, that really puts it in perspective, because there's a connection that you just can't deny when it comes to your children. So I just wanted to mention that. There was something else that you said, and now my brain here is not. I lost it because there's been so many good things that have been mentioned here. But I just appreciate you, Samantha, for just being so transparent, really, and sharing, and just your strength too. Like, I just see so much strength in you, and that's a beautiful thing, right? For you to know like who you are in this moment. And you mentioned something earlier about being afraid of yourself before. And now that you're not afraid of yourself, that's another show. So you're gonna have to come back for that, because we could unpack that one subject all by itself. So I just wanted to mention that, but just, your strength that you've shown throughout the show, and just telling your story. I just really appreciate that. So we're coming to the end of the show, unfortunately. So want to give you the opportunity to give some last words here.
Me?
Yes.
So my daughter and I do affirmations every day about loving ourselves. And we usually end our affirmations, and I say, men ain't what? She say, men ain't anything. She'd be a strong woman all the time.
I love it. And I love that. Oh, I love that you just that was another aha moment, that you do affirmations with your daughter. Knowing now she, every day, I could 20 years from now, she's going to hear that in her head. And she's going to be able to make a decision, because she remembered what her and mommy, used to say all the time. Because I know those affirmations are so powerful. And I know in my own heart, they pop back up when I need strength and I hear something being said. So I love that you do these affirmations with yourself. And you know what, Samantha, also with Tracy, I just commend you for everything, what you went through, your honesty, your authenticity about talking about it. But I love that you're saying, I still want to be married. If the right one comes up, because, I think I've seen so many people say, oh, I can't get married again. This is embarrassing. And I can't do this. And I don't think it is. I think you're just realizing yourself, and through the realization of who you are, and now even in a better state than you were before, now knowing yourself, being comfortable with yourself. Yeah, I let Mr. Right come on by.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
That part. But y'all, before we move into the last moments of the show, I want to remind everybody, and we did mention it before we got started, with this awesome conversation that we've had. Samantha is actually a luxury real estate specialist in Colorado. So if you're looking for real estate within the state of Colorado, you need to connect with this young woman. As you can see, she leads with her heart, which means whatever you're looking for in real estate, she's going to make sure she finds it to a T and blows your mind while she's at it. So with that, Sam, definitely drop me your contact links. I'll make sure I drop them in the comments for our audience to connect with you if they're in the real estate market. Of course, I want to thank you so much for sharing time with us today, and I look forward to possibly having you on another episode. Ladies, thank you for showing my old friend so much love this fine evening.
And I want to put in a shameless plug, because Shakita has been doing all these. She's been commenting and engaging. She will be on the Whole Living Show tomorrow. So tune in. Watch her tomorrow. I had to do that because she's just been so engaged here. So we thank you, Shaquita, and all the other beautiful viewers here. We just appreciate you all. And we're going to get out of here. Everybody, Samantha, don't go anywhere because we like to chat a little bit backstage before we get out of here. But we love you all. We thank you all for joining the show. And we are out. See you next Tuesday evening.